To kick us off, our first speaker is Simon Jessup, Chief Operating Officer of Northern Star Resources. Simon is a mining executive with more than 30 years experience in underground and open pit operations throughout Australia. A graduate of the WA School of Mines with degrees in mining engineering and surveying, Simon has held senior management roles at Saracen Mineral Holdings, Evolution Mining, and Panoramic Resources.
Thank you, Katie, and thanks for the opportunity to talk here today at Diggers and Dealers 2023. I always get excited when I come to Kalgoorlie. I've worked here, I've studied here at the School of Mines, very proud of that. Lived here, and even my youngest daughter was born in the Kalgoorlie Hospital, so I absolutely love coming back to Kalgoorlie. What really gets me excited though is when I fly into Kalgoorlie and I look out of the plane and I see the enormous super pit and see all the productivity and all the mining that we're doing there, along with the processing plant and the Mount Charlotte operation with the head frame. So I really do love flying into Kalgoorlie and then getting on the ground to be part of it. Last year, the gold price was US $1,780. Today, it's about 10% higher, and I think Jake Klein actually said it was going to go up last year. I missed his talk this morning, but he reckoned he's revved the crowd up for my talk today. So hopefully his prediction's good on the gold price. But in terms of an Aussie dollar gold price, it is just under $3,000 an ounce in Australian Aussie terms. And really that is a fantastic backdrop to lead me into Northern Star being a global gold leader. There's a forward-looking statement. Please feel free to read that on the website or at your leisure. So the three topics I want to cover today really is the platform of what is Northern Star today. It is a fantastic business that is well positioned and a growing business. I want to touch on where we are on our strategic journey and our strategy. We're approximately 50% through our 5-year strategic journey. So I'll give you an update of what we see in the next 3 financial years of the current strategy. And then beyond FY26, I want to give you a taste of how Northern Star thinks about our operations for the next leg of the journey and being a global gold leader. Last financial year, we sold 1.56 million ounces of gold, which is a huge amount of gold, and it's growing. That came from our 3 production centres. Kalgoorlie is the main production centre here and our largest one, comprising of KCGM, Kalgoorlie operations and our Carosue Dam operations. About 400 kilometres north of here is our Yandal operations, made up of Jundee and our Thunderbox mine. And then over in North America, in Alaska, we've got our Pogo operation. And when you combine all of those businesses together, we've got 57 million ounces of gold in resource. It is an absolutely fantastic platform that underpins the Northern Star business. At the moment, that rolls into 20 million ounces on reserve. And when you think of our strategic goal is to get to 2 million ounces by FY26, we've basically got 10 years backed by reserves, and we've got a resource base that will continue to grow as we go forward. So we really do have strength from scale. So I just want to restate our purpose as a business, and that is to generate superior returns. And how we generate superior returns is through all of our geologists, our engineers, our exploration team, our open pit expertise, our Northern Star Mining Services and their underground laser-like focus on productivity improvements and driving our underground sides of the business. We absolutely have strong cash flow generation. You would have seen in the last quarter of FY23, in that one quarter alone, we generated $300 million of free cash flow, which just shows the strength of this business and what it can do on cash flow generation. Everyone will agree KCGM is absolutely a world-class asset. There is no doubt about that. And we see that getting bigger as we go forward. And we are growing. But the most important thing is profitable growth. You've seen us turn off processing plants to maximise the margin across our business, finish up mines, start new mines. We are absolutely focused on profitable growth. And with that is being a responsible producer. Our safety performance is sector leading. We're 55% below the industry average. We're not happy with that. We want to improve our safety performance and continue to manage risks and look at all of the opportunities to improve our safety performance across the business. Our communities, it is a big focus for us, especially when you think in Kalgoorlie, 500 to a kilometre away, we've got the KCGM operations. So we need to be in tune with our communities. And I think our Williamstown project has shown a real strength of how we listen to the community and also take action. On a personnel front, everyone here has talked around the lack of skills and the lack of people in the industry. We see the way to manage that is absolutely bring new people into the industry. In the last 12 months, we've put on 235 trainees. That's a win for new people starting their careers, as all of us had to do at some point ourselves. Got 105 graduates, 70 apprentices, and the best way to get a pay rise in this industry is actually to get a promotion. And at Northern Star, we've had 1,000 promotions in the last 12 months across our business. We move people between our operations, give them the opportunity to actually go forward. And on a respect piece, it is physical and mental well-being, but it's also around psychosocial harm. Respect has been a core value at Northern Star for 10 years. And we as an industry, we need to improve this area and absolutely provide a more inclusive and a better place to work. And that's for not just one mining company, it is the whole industry. On our carbon emissions, we have got, our group target is to get 35% reduction on group emissions by 2030. And I'm really pleased to announce that we've kicked off the Jundee story, which is our first major renewables project. That comprises of 24 megawatt of wind, 16 megawatt of solar, all integrated into a 12 megawatt battery. So that'll, for Jundee alone, that will reduce the carbon emissions at that operation by 50%. We expect that to be completed in the next 12 to 18 months, and really Steve McClare heads that up as our Chief Technical Officer, and his goal is to get the next renewable project, which will absolutely be a lot bigger for the Kalgoorlie region. I think these four numbers on the bottom line really do point to the strength of the Northern Star business. In FY23, our gold sales resulted in $4.1 billion of revenue, and that's resulted in $1.2 billion of cash earnings. And the cash earnings is underlying EBITDA, less interest, less tax and sustaining capital. And why that number is important is our dividend policy is linked to the cash earnings of 20 to 30% of our cash earnings. Our balance sheet is in great position, $1.25 billion of cash and bullion on the balance sheet, and a drawn down debt of about $880 million. So net cash, $362 million, and growing, and everything is funded from our operational cash flows. We are returning capital returns to our shareholders. In the last 12 months, $388 million returned back to shareholders, and that comprises of $260 million in dividends and $128 million in a share buyback. So all of this is around creating value for our shareholders and going forward. On our strategic plan, This year we've guided 1.6 to 1.75 million ounces. So we're stepping it up from FY23. Our Kalgoorlie Production Centre is growing to 1.1 million ounces by FY26, and that is underpinned by Golden Pike North at KCGM, and it's getting into high margin, low strip ratio gold at the base of the pit and also in the wall. At our Yandal operation, we've built the Thunderbox process plant expansion. That's behind us now. We've commissioned that, and now it's extracting full value from that low-cost processing facility. At Pogo, we're on our way to 300,000 ounces, and that's how we're going to get to 2 million ounces at FY26. And what we see going forward is that's a sustainable business, 3 to 5 production centres, 1.8 to 2.2 million ounces of gold a year, and in the first half of the cost curve. So FY26, KCGM will be at 650,000 ounces. And we've recently announced in quarter four just recently, KCGM is growing to 900,000 ounces. And we see that as steady state from FY29 going on. It takes KCGM from a top 10 global gold mine to a top 5 global gold mine. And it's fantastic to have an operation of that scale and that size here in Kalgoorlie, Western Australia. So how are we doing that at KCGM? We're expanding the process plant from 13 million tonnes to 27 million tonnes. And that'll deliver us that 900,000 ounces at an Australian all-in sustaining cost of $1,425 an ounce. We're doing it with a simplified plant design. So we're taking 5 mills and going to 3 mills. We're getting rid of 3 thickeners and we're putting in 1 thickener that's 60 metres. We're putting in 7 big float cells. So it's a simplified design. Our Gidgee facility will be an option later on down the track, but in the new build, everything will be back at KCGM in one area to complete all of the processing. And it's a proven metallurgical process. We're just going to enhance it and improve it and get a longer residence time and improve the recovery by 1% to 2%. So it really is simply just larger equipment. What does that result in? Lower operating cost, $7 a tonne reduction in terms of the operating cost, increased reliability, increased uptime, less maintenance, and ultimately that will maximise the margin and the value opportunity at KCGM. All of this is underpinned by 120 million tonnes on stockpile, 2.7 million ounces that is actually stranded. So by doing this mill expansion, we can extract value from that, as well as we'll keep driving the resources on. So beyond FY26, we turn our attention to that and go, well, what's the next step for Northern Star? It absolutely is geology. We come back to geology as the value driver for the business. We see a continuity of production centres going on, being profitable. We are growing the mineral resource and reserve base, and all of this will be underpinned by KCGM, which will give us a material step change in our cash flow generation. So really, it's back to the drill bit and future optionality, and that's how we think of it at Northern Star. I love this slide. I think this is the slide of the pack. 7 kilometres there. Realistically, it's 10 kilometres at KCGM and the Golden Mile. And it's underpinned by 28 million ounces on resource and 12 million ounces as an ore reserve. And from what we know, there's been 65 million ounces mined over 130 years. But I've got no doubt there's been significantly more production mined at KCGM. The depth of mining here at our underground operation, our open pit, is in that top 500 metres. That's where most of the gold is actually coming from at the moment. The Fimiston area is absolutely growing for us. and there's 8.6 million ounces of an underground resource, of which we've only got 15% of that on reserve. And the reason it's only 15% is because there's 5 million ounces in inferred. So it's such a big system that we've got to keep drilling it, upgrading it, and bringing the reserves through. The jumbos have gone into Fimiston underground now, and we see that ramping up over the next few years. Up at our Yandal operations, which is Jundee operation to the north and Thunderbox to the south. Jundee itself is absolutely a world-class operation. In the last 12 months, we sold 320,000 ounces of gold, and this asset alone generated $300 million of free cash flow at Jundee after all the investment. There's 16 drills there. We've developed 31 kilometres in the last month. Not the last month, that'd be pretty good. 31 kilometres in the last 12 months. And Jundee is an operation that has a high history of replenishment. At our Thunderbox operation, we're going to unlock the scale from the process plant, and we're backed by 7 years processing on reserve. The long section you can see there is the Wonder Underground project, which commences by NSMS in the second half of FY24. And why we're excited by that is it's 920,000 ounces. It's very close to Thunderbox. It's only 30 kilometres away. And it's got high-grade feed, probably something Thunderbox process plant has never seen in its history. So we see great opportunity with the Wonder project adding grade to the Thunderbox. Every time I look at Pogo, I see the resource grade, 10.9 grams a tonne. And then I look up at KCGM where we're mining 1 gram a tonne and making significant margins from that. It is a big resource base at 7 million ounces. The reserves are at 8.5 grams per tonne, and we've had this asset for about 5 years now. Last quarter, it was absolutely super pleasing for the Pogo team to get 80,000 ounces of gold sold in 1 quarter. And that's above our annualised target rate of 300,000 ounces per annum. But we haven't finished at Pogo. We want to really work very, very hard on lowering the costs there. And it's that constant drive to get costs out of Pogo that will fundamentally lead to being able to extract more of the mineral resource, and it is high grade. Over at Goodpaster, we've got 1.1 million ounces in resource, and you've seen some recent mineralised holes of high grade on the Star discovery, which is only 1,300 metres from the existing mine infrastructure. So we sort of do feel that we're just starting the journey at Pogo for the next decade. So at the moment, beyond FY26, we really do see that the investment phase is complete. And that's because we're building the KCGM milling expansion over the next few years. But all of this is underpinned by significant cash flows coming from the business. So once you get past KCGM mill expansion, we'll see cash flow generation of a material step change as the backstop for the business. And ultimately, that leads to superior returns. So Northern Star is a global gold lever. Our purpose is to generate superior returns for our shareholders, and we do that providing positive benefits to our stakeholders, our employees, our community. We do it through operational effectiveness, our exploration activities, and you've seen us do active portfolio management. We're 50% complete on our strategic journey to 2 million ounces, and it's a profitable growth strategy. We are very focused around margins and profits within the Northern Star business. I'd like to say we're led by Stu Tonkin, who's an exceptional leader, and we've really got a great executive team that are driving this business forward. The KCGM mill expansion is underway. We've started clearing the footprint. We're on the way with the enabling works, and we'll build that over the next few years. We're fully funded. Our dividend policy is maintained. And then for us, it's back to geology as the next leg of value creation. In the next 12 months, we're going to drill $235 million worth of holes across all of our operations, whether it's in-mine drilling, ResDef drilling or exploration. And in the last 12 months, we've been finding gold for $31 an ounce. Thank you for the time today.
Thank you, Simon. Thanks, Simon.